I'm actually more worried about if I can do this. I don't think anyone's done this before. I think with the time frame that I have, realistically it's probably too short. There's all of these things going against me. Chances are I'm going to fail at this, and I've become comfortable with that. You know, in my mind, this is helping me now. It's making it harder, so you know, I'm more focused. It's the worst possible career move you can make. But I didn't do this for my career. I did this because I wanted to swim again. It just happened one day. I was flying from Chicago to London, and I was on the plane, and you know, I was watching a bad movie, as we all do on planes, and you know, I thought about swimming again. It was the first time that those reasons why I wouldn't want to swim didn't seem as significant as they had previously. So this was very strange for me because I'd been so dismissive of it before. I was in London, actually doing some work for the BBC, and I went to the pool, and it was still being built, you know, but I could kind of hear what the crowd would be like and, you know, smell what it would be like. That kind of gives you a bit of a spur along. But then, you know, I had to sit for a few more days and kind of wait. And then I jumped on a plane back to Australia, and I started training when I got back home. When I started, I had to have this strategy of doing this under the radar kind of thing. And so I was training at, I think, 7 or 8 different pools throughout Sydney, so that I didn't appear to be at a pool more than, you know, once per week. You know, it seems a little crazy and a little paranoid, but I realized that at the very beginning, if people got a sniff that I was thinking about doing this, I would have run at 1,000,000 miles. I had to work out, you know, what this was like, what swimming was like again.
Thorpe did travel a few miles though, around 10,000, swapping Sydney for Swiss surroundings and a town called Lugano.
The decision to come to Switzerland was based on the coaches here, Gennady Turetsky, who I think is the best sprint freestyle coach in the world. So, you know, that was the main reason. And then when I did arrive here, it wasn't this beautiful. It was actually quite overcast, and then the sky opened up, and I realized that training was going to become a whole lot easier, given the kind of motivating setting that I'm in. I think I'm in the best part of Switzerland. It's it's the Italian part, which most people forget outside of Switzerland. So it's kind of, you know, the best of an Italian lifestyle, but with Swiss organisation around it, so things work still. Everything's on time, but you get that kind of Italian, kind of casual lifestyle.
And how have you found sort of getting used to the language difference and things?
I take lessons. I take a lot of lessons.
Un espresso por me. Yeah, and put 2 espresso per favore. Sì, grazie mille.
As soon as I think everyone in the town knows now that I'm taking lessons, and so everyone's very forgiving of my Italian. You know, before and after training, I get spotted a little bit, but you know, people keep to themselves mostly here. You know, and most swimmers try and keep to themselves. You know, people stick their head under the water to be left alone. So we have that in common.
Yet great comebacks always stir attention, and Thorpe's had to deal with that from a very early age.
I grew up in front of a camera, and people, you know, tend to feel this sense of ownership over people that have been exposed to them like that. For me, going to my first Olympics, I was a household name. On one side, I was world champion, world record holder, and on the other side of the coin, you have a child who grew up in this town who never thought that they'd be swimming at these Olympic Games because they'd be too young. They were 17, they were inexperienced in competition, they'd never been to the Olympic Games. My heat swim was terrible. I felt hopeless. And I wasn't sure before this race. You know, I was expected to win it, but I wasn't sure until, you know, basically when I was introduced to the crowd, and I knew the crowd would cheer for me a lot, but I didn't anticipate how much they'd yell. And I couldn't help but smile. And it was at this point that, you know, all of that kind of doubt went away, and I was ready to race. And it became my race again at that stage.
An absolutely unbelievable swim. Oh, what a god he is.
Thorpe is nearing his competitive comeback and is set for his first race next month at a World Cup meet in Singapore.
I'm where I thought I'd be at, plus or minus 5%, and I won't tell people which way that is, because I'm a little bit confused now which side that actually falls on.
What would represent success for 2012?
My goal at the start, and this will remain my goal through the Olympics, was to be able to swim faster than I used to be able to swim. The thing about the London Games, what will be great is it's a nation that loves sport. You know, probably the most important things to what is going to be a great Games. For me, it's probably the closest thing that I'm ever going to feel to having a second home Olympics, unless I'm still swimming when I'm 100 and something years old.